Welcome to my dollhouse tour. I like to think of this dollhouse as a storybook. A simple life, furnished with just simple furnishings. There was no electricity. Water had to be brought in. It represents a turn-of-the-century farmer's cottage. I didn't put any fuss into wallpaper or decorative elements. Everything in the house is purely based on function and what a farming family would have in their home. This is the Pierce dollhouse, and on the first floor, I repurposed its use into a grand old country kitchen. The second floor is where I put the sitting room and the washroom. And since these farmers own sheep, there's a lot of spinning. So let's take a tour room by room and see how this dollhouse came about. On the first floor, I put in a pantry, but I also set the foundation by hand painting a stone floor that runs over the whole first floor. The pantry houses all the goodies that you might find in a farming kitchen. All the canning and jellies and cheeses, a wine cask, and also an olive press. Shelves on the wall, baskets, fruit from the garden, just about anything you might find in an old country kitchen. And you can see the stone floor, which adds to the whole ambiance of the room, really does make a difference. There's a picture of the house with no furniture in it just before we moved in. The stone floor is textured and hand painted and embellished with little bits of moss on the outside edge. I also put in a ladder because I removed the staircase as it was just too bulky. So I put in a primitive ladder going to the second floor. So let's enter into the country kitchen. It was nice and spacious because I had removed the stairwell. So I put in the kitchen table and chairs on the left-hand side. I built all the furniture and painted them in black because I felt the room needed a good anchor. The big old potbelly stove is perfect in the corner with a copper kettle, just waiting to serve tea. The chandelier above the table was made from beads and is suspended from the ceiling with a black chain. The black accents really offset all the copper. I had a lovely collection of miniature copper pots, and they fit right into this kitchen. When the sun sets and it streams in through the French doors and the windows, it creates such a beautiful atmosphere in this room. This happens to be one of my favorite rooms in the house. All the beams, ceiling beams, and support beams were put in during the renovation. I also installed new windows and changed out the glass panels in them and created a finish on them that looks like antique glass. The little stove sat all by itself, and I thought it needed to look grander. So I made a little wooden shelf that sits on the wall above it, painted it black, and I use that to store all the extra pots and pans. Adds a lot of visual weight and interest to this corner of the room. The big old farm table in the middle was also built by myself. Got to have a pie on the stove French doors open out onto a patio outside. This cabinet in the kitchen houses the fresh folded tea towels, wooden bowls, extra copper, and just added a nice element of furniture in the room. The little copper jug on the table is from Italy. I was able to purchase 2 pieces of collectible copper from a particular lady, and I just love them. They're authentic, heavy copper. The pup is waiting to be fed. It's tea time for him too. And of course, you couldn't have a dollhouse without a mouse. And this tiny little mouse under the chair has found a crumb of bread. The bay window has been converted into a nice little baking center. So I put a table with baking paraphernalia, a little stool, and of course a barrel full of flour in the corner. There's also a bucket full of wood for the wood stove. And of course we have a sink. Doesn't fit the era because it denotes running water, and of course there's no running water in this house. However, it suited the spot and I made it work. The little ladder takes you up to the 2nd floor. And there's the stone floor in the bare room. And then once the furniture was all put in place, it created an old world, busy storybook kitchen. I'm tickled pink about this room. So let's go upstairs to the 2nd floor. See what's happening up there. So on the 2nd floor, we've got a bedroom, a sitting room, and a washroom. The sun is setting at the end of a busy day. It's time for rest and relaxation. So into the sitting room, one might find knitting, a book to read, a few bills to pay, or just simple quiet time. This room is furnished very simply. Organic rug on the floor. Of course, the puppy has found a nice spot under the chair. A clock on the wall. A lantern because there's no electricity. A nice rocking chair. And a cabinet full of books. You can get a glimpse of the windows and how the light streaming through shows off the texture of the old glass. On the walls, I've aged with a little bit of antiquing patina, which just gives the room a little more character. It's a basket full of wool, balls of wool, because the lady of the house is an avid spinner and knitter. You can see the cabinet is filled with old books. And right next to the sitting room, we find the washroom. And this washroom serves 2 purposes. It's for doing laundry, but it's for the monthly bath. Water has to be brought up from downstairs, and whatever laundry is washed in the dry sink or the tub. There's an old ironing board, and bits and pieces are hung to dry in this room. Old buckets, jugs, a scrubbing board, and of course you've got to have an open cabinet showing freshly ironed linens, all nicely folded. On top I've got enamel wash tub, and also an old ironing board. Then we have a large area that the lady of the house uses for spinning. There's also a small sleeping area, a single bed, a bedside table with a candlestick. There's also a wooden fireplace for those chilly nights. There's another piece of copper and a brass lantern. And of course, here's the stairwell going upstairs to the 3rd floor. And who do we find there? Yes, another little mouse hiding under the stairs. This set of stairs was really simple to build. I just used stringers and applied simple wood for the steps. Now we're up on the 3rd floor, and what do we find? Another spinning wheel. She's an avid spinner. The 3rd floor houses the dressing room area, the bed, and a little sewing area. A rocking chair, a basket full of yarn or wool, and the bed and bedside table. And of course, you've got a little brass potty. All the bedding is made out of very organic looking fabrics. I wanted it to all look like it was hand woven. Sparsely furnished, not any fuss, no paintings on the walls. In those days, everything had to be functional. Not sure if there were sewing machines in those days, but we have a little one here with a mirror, and here's the little attic. Papa's made himself quite at home in this little attic on the 3rd floor. As we move outside the kitchen from the 1st floor, we come across an old table that Cook has put outside the door, and there she puts pieces of stale food, leftover bread, a few ears of corn, because she loves to feed her favorite little critters, the mouse family. There's also a rabbit hutch out on this deck, and somebody forgot to latch the rabbit hutch because the bunnies are out. This is Cook's favorite spot in between cooking meals. She likes to sit out here, enjoy the beautiful sunny days, feeding her critters, watering her plants. She even grows a few herbs here. And there you have it, the Storybook Dollhouse. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.